Good day, everyone. So, today we shall be diving into an interesting topic, and that is building foundation and the world. Of course, we all live in a building where we rest our head, relax our body, watch movies, prepare for activities. So, we want to learn how to read the foundation of building or how foundations of buildings are made, as well as the wall of building. So, this lesson is going to explore the essential component of building construction, that is foundation and wall. So, let's dive into this. So, majorly we'll be looking at foundation, the definition of foundation, its functions, as well as the type of building foundation. And lastly, we'll be looking at construction of wall, the type of walls we have, the materials used in making them, and the finishing technique of making wall. I'm sure you will enjoy this lesson. All right. Now, what is foundation? Okay, so when we say foundation, a foundation in building actually is the expanded base of a column supported by the ground or subsoil. So it is the expanded base of a column where you have a building. However, this foundation is also supported by the ground. The major work of the foundation is to distribute the weight of the building that will be on it. It also stabilize the building so that the building does not collapse, and to help in transmitting weight from the subsoil to its own expanded base, as we have said. We did a sample of a foundation. You could see here that all of these are made so that the weight of the building that will be built on this will be distributed evenly. And secondly, so that the building on this foundation will be stable without having cause to collapse. And lastly, so that it can transmit the weight from the main soil, which is the main foundation, to the foundation itself. And so that's the concept of foundation that we are talking about in building. Then we have type of foundation. So we have the strip foundation. When we say strip foundation, it's simply continuous concrete strip, as you could see here, about 225 millimeters thick. You can see like each of these strips are 225 millimeters thick, and usually they are used for bungalows and fences that are on moderately hard soil. So the soil should be moderately hard, and when you add in, if you have the intention of building a bungalow, then you can make it of this strip foundation. So the major characteristics is that the strips are 225 millimeters thick. All right. Another type of foundation that we have is called the pad foundation. The pad foundation is an isolated foundation supporting columns, often reinforced with steel for multi-story buildings. Okay, so it's different from the strip foundation because the strip foundation does not have steel. We could see this is a sample of a pad foundation. It has steel. The essence of this steel is to help in reinforcing the foundation so that it can accommodate more buildings. So it's made for story buildings like 2, 3, 4, 5 story buildings. So this steel is there to make it stronger, okay, so that the building does not collapse. And we cannot find this type in strip foundation because strip foundation is strictly made for bungalow, so there is no need for having this steel, this irrigated steel you could see here. That is what we have referred to as pad foundation. The foundation, an isolated foundation that supports column and is being reinforced with steel. So we still have another one, that is the raft foundation. The reason we use this raft foundation is when you have reason to build your house or you raise your building on a weak soil, like the sandy or a swampy environment. People build their houses or or raise their buildings in swampy area. But if you must do that, then you must consider using a raft foundation. The raft foundation is also reinforced, not with steel this time around, but with a slab. A slab is a slab, something like a concrete, you could see, combined with iron too, but not that the iron is raised up. So it must be 300 millimeters thick. It covers the entire building area where the building will be raised. You use the slab to cover it because this place is swampy, so you cannot afford to leave any space open to avoid the water coming out from the center or the swampy content coming out. So there is need for the slab to cover the entire area so that the building can be properly erected. So this is what we call this example of a raft foundation. You could see all of this placed with the slab. That's where the building will be raised. All right, and usually, like I said before, is used for areas where the is used for it's used in an area where it's sandy or where it's swampy. And the last but not the least type of foundation is what we call the pile foundation. The pile foundation is used for heavy structures like multi-story building, okay, just like we have it uh, in the part foundation. So we use pile foundation when we have it into erect heavy structures like story building, like bridges. But then you want to raise this structure on unstable ground like waterlogged areas. So if you must raise bridges on waterlogged areas, or you want to raise a multi-story building like 10-story building on waterlogged area, then you must consider pile foundation. Pile foundation consists of piles. So these piles transfer the load to deeper and stronger soil layer. You can see this is the example of the pile. So it's a foundation that is made up of pile. Now the pile is taken down into the waterlogged area. It goes down into the deeper part of the area and get down to the stronger part of the soil so that the building does not sink. So that's it. So look at the piles. So the piles are the foundation that will now hold the building or the structure that will be placed on it. So that's how the pile foundation works. So before you can consider using any of this type of foundation, you have to consider the environment at which you want to use it or the type of building you want to raise. That is summary of the considerations of choosing foundation before you rate your building. So I want to talk about that. Let's talk about the soil also, where this foundation will be raised, because the foundation to be raised is dependent on the type of soil that is in that environment. Okay, and after considering soil type, then excavation takes place. Excavation simply means digging into the soil to require depth. But that digging must be at least 750 millimeters. Okay, so it must keep digging to be sure that it's up to 750 millimeters. All right, irrespective of the type of soil. So then, what are the type of soil we have? We have the sand soil. The nature of the soil is gritty, it is loose, it breaks easily when dry. You have the clay soil too. This is moldable, you can mold it. It's brittle when dry, that is breakable when dry. And it is sticky when wet. That is clay soil for you. We have the gravel. The gravel too loses it moves easily and it's homogeneous. And the last one, we have the seed type of soil. This type of soil dries quickly, moderately plastic, soft, and firm. So when you are excavating any type of this soil, you have to consider their properties so as to know the kind of excavating machine to be used, and that leads us to excavation method based on the type of soil you want to use. So we have the mechanical method and we have the manual method. When we talk about the mechanical method of excavating, we are talking about the use of heavy machineries such as excavation tractor, mechanical shovel, ditchers for larger projects. You could see this example of excavation tractor. This tractor helps in digging down into that depth of 750 meters, all right, and then you can now begin to raise your foundation. If you don't want to use the mechanical method, you cannot afford this. This is the best if you can afford it. But if it cannot be afforded, then you can switch to that of manual method. The manual method involves the use of traditional tools like digger, the shovel, the wheelbarrows for trenching, and material removal. So any of them works depending on what is available to be used. All right. So now let's now talk about the building walls. Okay, after raising foundation, now we need to raise walls. All right. So walls are structural members for enclosure or division of space. So those are the major functions of wall. They are for enclosure and also division of spaces. You see here, these are walls that help in dividing space, and they are also enclosing. The external wall is used to enclose that building. So they can be external or internal wall. Okay, the external wall are known as the load-bearing wall. The external wall are called the load-bearing wall because they bear the load of the building, in the sense that if it should collapse that wall, that building will collapse. This is an example of external wall, is load bearing, because the roof of the bearing, the roof of the building rather, is resting on it. All right, and it's also built on the foundation of the building. So any reason to pull away this load bearing wall or the external wall, the building collapses. On the other hand, we have the non-load bearing wall, also known as the internal wall. This is just simply for space division. It has no effect on the building when it is collapsed or removed. Okay, so and that takes us to the purpose of what, like we said before, for enclosure or division of space. But secondly, we also use the wall for bearing of load, just like the external wall is doing. So the external wall carry the weight of the building and other elements. All right. Then when we talk about space division, the space division is done by the internal wall, okay, not load bearing wall. So it helps in dividing space as partition and compartment. And that's when you have the room, you have the bedroom, you have the sitting room, you have the kitchen, you have the toilet. You make use of the non-load bearing wall in creating the compartment or partitions. And lastly, the wall is made for protection. So the wall helps in protecting the structure against weather, and it provides privacy and security, right? So these are the functions of the building walls. Okay, now let's talk about the walling material and the types. Of course, we have talked about the categories of wall, that's the external and the internal wall. But we also have the materials that we use in making them. And the common materials that are used for making walls are the stone. You can use stone to make wall. You can also use clay and mold in making walls. You can use timber in making walls. You can use bricks in making walls. And lastly, you can use concrete blocks in making walls. So what are the type of wall that we have? So we have the block wall, we have the partition wall, we have the sleeper wall, the timber wall. So this wall type is based on either their purpose or the material at which they are made from. So we have the block wall made from block. We have the partition wall for separating, the sleeper wall, the timber wall, the foundation wall, the glass wall, okay, the retaining wall. Okay, of course, the glass wall is the material, the material is glass. The foundation wall is the wall made for foundation, right? So retaining wall, cavity wall, reinforced concrete wall. We have the stone wall that is made from stone, bamboo wall made from bamboo. We have the clay or mud wall, and we have the masonry wall, and so on and so forth. So we have different type of wall based on the materials that they are made from, or based on the purpose for which they are made for. So I would say that let's now talk about the wall finishes and bonding. When you have raised your wall, there is need for you to finish the wall. When we talk about finish, there is need for you to make the work look beautiful. All right. So wall finishes protect surfaces from weather. All right. While bonding ensures structural strength. So when you are finishing a wall, it means you are protecting it from weather. You are also, adding beauty to the wall. So and it comes in different way. One of the wall finishes is called the plastering. So the plastering involve internal wall finish using cement, sand, and water in the ratio of 1:3, and it is applied in 2 to 3 layers. So this is done internally. That's why you can see when you take the wall of your room, you see that it's well cemented before it is painted. And then we have the rendering. The rendering is the opposite of the plastering. This is the external wall finish using cement as well, sand and water. But in this case, it can also include purple dye or splatter dye with color pigment to protect it from weather. The external one is exposed to rain more than the internal one, the one that we have in the room, the sitting room. So that we need for extra protection, okay, by including the pebble dash. And then we have the painting, okay. The painting is just a liquid coating for decoration and protecting it against weather element. So the painting does two things. It adds decoration to the wall, and it also protects it from weather element, okay. And lastly, we have the bonding. We have said that the bonding ensures structural strength. So the major function of the bonding is to ensure that the walls are strengthened, and it involves the arrangement of the blocks or bricks to eliminate continuous vertical joints. The joint that you have when you are arranging the blocks. You apply bonding to enhance the strength of this arrangement and the stability. All right, so this is what we have for you today on the concept of foundation, building foundation, and work. I hope you have learned something today from today's lesson. I would like to drop the curtain here. Thank you for watching and have a wonderful day. Bye for now.